With Pictionary airing in some markets that have Fox-owned and operated stations, I thought it'd be a good time to scour through the game show archives and try to find a game show to talk about based on drawing. Now, the problem is there aren't that many game shows focused solely on drawing. Most of the shows that do focus on drawing I've already talked about for the Games of 90, or Game Show Garbage, or they don't fit into either one of those two categories. So the question is, do any of these shows fit for 26 weeks or less? Well, I did find one that was presumed lost, but thanks to a lot of personal collections from previous game show archivists, an episode was found. And I'm happy to see this piece of game show ephemera being brought to the public. As far as we know, it's the first ever game show based on drawing. I give you Fast Draw.
We got it.
Robert Alda.
That's a TV set, and that's a fat man, and that arrow just pointed to Florida, so it must be a fat man who does a show from Florida. How about Jackie Gleason?
You're right. Now here's the star of Fast Draw, Johnny Gilbert.
Hey, how about that? Boy, you guys are good.
Fast Draw featured two teams of two comprised of one celebrity and one contestant drawing clues to get their partner to guess a person, place, or thing. Debuting in May of 1968, veteran announcer Johnny Gilbert was the host of this show, and would be one of the few times he would be shown on camera. Honestly, this one is kind of a weird duck to cover for 26 weeks or less, and let me explain. Now, the show was sold in two different ways. In some markets, it was sold for weekly syndication. So, let's say in one network it would air on a Tuesday at 7:30, but in another market it would air Friday at 2 o'clock. But in September of 1968, the syndicators decided, why don't we try to sell this as a daily strip for other markets? So, the 40 episodes that they have already shot would be aired in a 5-a-week strip. Like, for example, we'll say Boston maybe aired it 5 a week, but Los Angeles aired it weekly. So, I'm kind of fudging things a bit, because in some markets it was a weekly that had 40 episodes, and that doesn't qualify for 26 weeks or less. But in some markets it was aired daily and had 40 episodes, and therefore it does qualify for 26 weeks or less. It's a weird situation that I could only explain to it being very early syndication. And one of the comforting things about this show is the voice of the show, who we still hear today. Johnny Gilbert helmed the show for the 40 episodes it lasted. There isn't much to do with a drawing game show, since all of the work is being done by the celebrity and the contestant. However, what he does do, he does it well. He, to me, is one of the quintessential 60s era game show hosts in his style. Nice booming voice, congenial to the contestants and the celebrities, and overall pleasant to be around. To be honest, he kind of reminds me of Art James' hosting style in the 60s, especially on the Who, What, or Where game. Now, the gameplay itself is rather simple. One half of each team does the drawing, and the other half does the guessing. The drawers are shown the subject, and Johnny says if it's a person, place, or thing. Then one drawer has 10 seconds to draw the item or draw clues to get the partner to guess the correct object or subject. If the guesser knows the answer, they'll buzz in and stop the clock. If they are right, then they get the points, which equate to the amount of time left in a 60-second clock. So if 48 seconds are left, they get 48 points. If wrong, the drawing continues. After 10 seconds, the other team draws until their 10 seconds is up. This ping-pongs back and forth until a guesser buzzes in with the correct answer, or 60 seconds is up. It's a fine idea and gets the drawing aspect over well. After 2 puzzles in round 1, the celebs and the contestants switch places for round 2. It's the same thing as round 1, except the celebrities draw and the contestants guess. Then they switch back for round 3, which is played exactly the same as round 1, but they play until time runs out. The team with the most points at the end of the game wins $100 and advances to the bonus game. Honestly, when it comes to round 3, maybe doubling the points or something else to differentiate it from the previous 2 rounds. You know, to add a little bit of variety. And honestly, to me, that's the only knock I have on this format. The bonus game is quite simple. Johnny shows the winning celebrity as subject, and the contestant has 30 seconds to guess it while they draw. Here, there is no subject given except for pot luck, and the contestant does not have to buzz in to guess. If the contestant can guess the subject within the 30 seconds, then they win a color television set. So for a low-budget game show, it's a decent haul, since a 20-inch color TV around that time was about $500. So $600 in winnings was actually pretty good. And that was Fast Draw. So why was it short-lived? I think the only answer I could give was early syndication was horrendously expensive to break into. Because of the tapes and how they have to be distributed to various markets around the country, it really made producing shows for syndication really expensive. Certain shows who've already had a pedigree on network TV were able to get away with it. Truth or Consequences is one of the greatest examples of a show thriving again in syndication after it was canceled on a network. In 1968, we would start to see Mark Goodson exploring syndication pretty regularly, because in 1968, What's My Line would start 5-a-week syndication with Wally Bruner as its new host, and then he would reboot To Tell the Truth in 1969 with new host Gary Moore. Fast Draw didn't have the pedigree, it didn't have the budget to compete with the marketing of What's My Line or I've Got a Secret or Truth or Consequences, and thus it was done and dusted and scouring around the archives where the tapes were eventually reused, except for one episode that still exists among traders. And I gotta say, it's the purpose of tape trading. It allows you to keep rare shows in syndication or trade them among folks so people can see what's going on, see certain shows that they'll never be able to see. YouTube is also a good example, because there was a recent example a couple of years ago, because we thought the Money Maze was wiped, but somebody unearthed an episode of an original run episode, and I'm grateful that we actually got to see the Money Maze, a show that I thought was lost to time, or tape wiping for ABC, which they didn't stop until 1978. Anyway, that's going to do it for me for 26 Weeks or Less. I'm Cindy Simon. I'd like to thank you for watching. And if you want to get in on the action and suggest a show for 26 Weeks or Less, leave a comment on the comment section below. If you want to have more game show goodness with this channel, be sure to like this video, subscribe to us, and hit that bell. And if you want to see the video a day before it goes public on YouTube, become a Patreon backer at patreon.com/GameShowGumbo. I am Cindy Simon, and I'll see you next time. Until then, bye-bye.